Love them or hate them, selfies are here to stay. We're comparing 4 of the top phones to see which one has the best camera. For this comparison, I'm using 4 flagship phones, the OnePlus 8 Pro, the Galaxy S20 Ultra, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and the Pixel 4. So in an effort to find out the best selfie camera, I wanted to do things a little bit differently. So I am not going to tell you which phone produced which image. They're just going to be labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a grid, and the same phone will always be in the same position throughout the video. All right, let's see some selfies. All these photos are straight out of the camera in a 4:3 aspect ratio, and there's definitely no beauty mode applied, no edits, and no filters. First up, let's look at the different focal lengths from all of the 4 phones. Immediately, you can see that phone number 3 is wider than any of the others, so you get more in the shot, like the plants, which don't show up in any of the other photos. This shot also shows you how each phone deals with diffused light coming in from a window and the subtle differences in color. Here's our amazing intern Jessica, who also took some selfies for this comparison. Now, I really like the results from all of the phones here, but I think phones 2 and 4 are my favorite in terms of the punchy colors they deliver, and phones 2 and 3 retain the most detail when you look up close in her sweater, the leaves, and her hair. But phone number 3 does have some lens flare due to the wider perspective. For this outdoor shot, I think phone number 2 looks quite warm overall compared to any of the others. As for dynamic range, take a look at the sky behind me. Now, I think phones 2 and 3 do the best job here because you can still make out the sky and the building and nothing's blown out. But all of them look pretty good. I would say phone number 3 has more contrast and is a little underexposed compared to all of the other shots. I wanted to show you what each phone's HDR mode could do, so here is a sunset selfie. So the most accurate representation of my skin is from phone number 1. I prefer the sunset itself and the HDR effect from phone number 3, but the wider angle is not as flattering on my face. Phone number 2 is a pretty balanced shot overall, if a little bit underexposed compared to the others, while phone number 4 has a pretty cool white balance, but the lighting is kind of nice and even on my face. Let's move on to portrait mode to give you that blurred background effect. So on this shot, I like the white balance the most from phone number 1, and the blur is pretty consistent. There are no obvious seams and I look pretty sharp. Phone number 2 is a bit more yellow overall, but the portrait mode effect is spot on, and to me, this one looks the most like it came from a DSLR. I actually like the wider perspective that phone number 3 gives this time around because it's at a low angle, so the wide lens really accentuates the perspective, but it doesn't quite get the blur right in between areas like my arm and my leg, but everywhere else is pretty solid. Phone number 4 also has some of that same edge detection trouble and is a little bit pink compared to the rest of the phones. I also tried using portrait mode with a ring light instead of using natural light, and this is the shot that resulted. The biggest thing I noticed though when taking this particular photo was that phone number 1 had trouble activating portrait mode when I had sunglasses on. And it was the same when I was wearing something like a face mask. It just wouldn't recognize me when my nose and mouth were covered, even though none of the other phones had that problem. And one final portrait mode selfie, this time with a fuzzy sweater. Now, this is actually a really good test of portrait mode because a lot of phones get this texture super confused. So I think it has happened with a few of these phones, but phone number 2 is the most natural and uniform blur, while the others kind of get edge detection a little bit wonky. So time to be real with you, the past few months has basically been me staring into the fridge, trying to find something to eat. So I thought, well, I'm taking selfies anyway, why not get a shot out of this? With the fridge's artificial light, you can see that phone number 1 is pretty neutral in how it renders the colors and the light on my face. Phone number 2's colors are quite punchy. but I prefer the look of phone number 4 the most overall here, as I think the balance of colors look nicer and the lighting is super flattering. Let's move out of the fridge into another shot using artificial light. In this shot, the white balance is actually the thing that the phones struggle with the most, and I think that it is most accurate on phone number 4. It's also a really flattering shot overall. In terms of sharpness and detail, that award goes to phone number 1. Alright, now let's move on to a DIY B-movie set I put together for this low light shot, which involves a pink cycling jersey, a ring light, and me staring off into the distance looking at something. All of these phones have a night mode on the rear camera, but only 2 of the phones have it on the selfie camera. So these shots that you'll see have night mode turned off on all of them. But I will show you some night mode photos with the 2 phones that have it shortly. Phones number 1 and 3 are a little too red compared to what the light actually looked like. Phones 2 and 4 are more accurate, but if you zoom in a little closer, you'll see that phone 2 is more noisy than any of the others in low light. And again, on this low light shot, you'll see that phone number 2 is noisier than any of the others when you are a little closer in. Phone number 1 is actually super sharp and keeps the detail better in the foreground and the background. Phone number 3 though wins the overall award for me in terms of the low light balance because the detail is good and it's really flattering on the face.
The things you do in quarantine when you really want to simulate night and you really want to go to a bar or a club because that's where you take low light selfies. Welcome to my cupboard.
So that rule that says don't ever use flash on your phone, yeah, look, I had to break it for this shot to show you what flash looks like. Now, none of them look particularly good, but I would say phone number 4 is probably the best overall balance for me.
Okay, it's video time. So first up, I wanted to show you clips from phone number 1 and phone number 2. This is a walking shot just to show you how they deal with stabilization and keeping a track and focus on my face. So yeah, I'm just gonna walk down the street like this is totally normal. Masks, safety first, guys. All right, here is phone number 3 and phone number 4. Trying to hold them at the same level to give you a good idea, although it is hard because phone number 4 is cropping in a little bit more onto the image. Here we go. So yeah, another walking shot. Take a listen to the audio, see how the focus is doing, stabilization. And one important thing to note about these 2 phones, 3 and 4, is that they don't record in 4K like the phones 1 and 2. These ones are both recording in 1080p on the front camera. All right, we are back inside and I wanted to take advantage of this beautiful natural light that's coming in through the window to give you an idea of what the shot looks like when you aren't moving around. There's no wind noise. And yeah, I know I'm kind of set up the shot kind of badly because I have a lamp sticking out of my head. Don't do this at home. But hey, I'm working with what I got, so you gotta bear with me. So take a listen to the audio. This room is a little bit echoey, but it should give you a good idea of how it copes with my voice and any other external sounds. There isn't much, but yeah, just take a listen and see which one you prefer.
Now it's time to reveal the phones. Did you guess? Phone number 1 is the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Phone number 2 is the iPhone 11 Pro. Phone number 3 is the Pixel 4. And phone 4 is the OnePlus 8 Pro.
All right, now you know which phone is which. You have to decide the one that you like the most. Now, I'll tell you which ones that I think were the strongest, but of course this all comes down to personal preference and the screen that you view it on does make a difference. All right, so you're ready for it? The best selfie camera ever? Well, Look, I don't think any one phone can be declared the absolute king of selfies, but there is one that I think is the strongest over a range of different categories, including photo and video. And for me, that one is the Galaxy S20 Ultra. It's just really strong and consistent. Even though it has some issues with portrait mode, for example, I just think it does do the best across all of the different categories. When it comes to portrait mode in particular, the iPhone 11 Pro really does do, I think, the best job for that effect. And I also think its video recording is super strong, and the audio I felt was probably the best out of all of the phones. The Pixel 4 delivers super detailed shots, and I really like its low light performance, especially in night mode, but that ultra wide perspective isn't that flattering for a lot of shots, and I find it kind of frustrating because I didn't want to see all those lumps and bumps distorted in that weird way. Not my kind of idea of a great looking selfie. The OnePlus 8 Pro was pretty good overall. I liked its photos and videos, and I think it made me look quote unquote the prettiest out of any of these cameras, but it wasn't very consistent across different shots. So in some photos, the HDR looked amazing, and in others, then the white balance was totally off. And I didn't think the video was as strong as the other phones, particularly the S20 Ultra and the 11 Pro.
Alright, so now you know which one is which, let's talk about all the other features that I didn't mention earlier because that would have given the game away. The S20 Ultra, Pixel 4 and OnePlus 8 Pro all have beauty modes to smooth out skin or tweak your eyes. You can change the intensity of the effect, although I found it looked best when I had it on normal levels. And there's even an extreme face tune on the S20 Ultra that, well, let's just say when you dial everything up to the maximum, it's like instant Botox. I look pretty ridiculous.
The S20 Ultra also has another trick up its sleeve, which is front-facing live focus video. This is what it looks like. And it's not just limited to this blurred background effect. You can increase or decrease the intensity, change it to black and white, or even do this trippy, glitchy effect.
You can also take 40 megapixel selfies on the S20 Ultra. I never really found the right application for this because pixel binning makes the regular image look pretty good, but if you know you want some extra latitude, at least it's there. I also mentioned night mode earlier, so only the S20 Ultra and Pixel 4 have it on the front-facing camera, and it does make a difference, as you can see here.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this super useful and a little bit of fun with some creative selfie ideas you can do at home. Let me know which phone that you liked the most down in the comments, and don't worry if you're not a selfie person, I don't know why you made it to the end of the video, but there is going to be a lot more comparisons in the best camera phone series, so make sure you stay tuned. Coming your way soon.